students, today I will take class of standard 9, chapter 3 force, and my topic is friction. I think in our day-to-day life we all are familiar with this word friction. Before explaining this, I want to remind you Newton's first law. Newton's first law. From Newton's first law, we know an stationary object will be stationary, or an object in motion will continue its state of motion until an external force is applied to it. But what happens in practice? If I roll a marble on the floor, then what we see? We see the marble travels some distance and it should continue its motion according to Newton's first law. But after some times we see another force from the opposite direction hinders the motion of the marble, and the marble becomes stuck. That force which is acted from the opposite direction is known as frictional force. That resistive force is known as frictional force. Let us draw a table and I keep a box on it. If I applied a force A from left to right direction to move it on the surface of the table, then from left to right another force will be acted on between the two surfaces. That force is known as frictional force. So I can give you the definition of frictional force. That is, when a body moves or tends to move, listen very carefully, when a body moves or tends to move over another body, then a resistive force acts between the surface in contact is known as friction, and that resistive force is known as frictional force. Look, I have a remote in my hand, okay, and I put a marker on it. Suppose I applied force on the marker and the marker is starting moving on the surface. Then between these two surfaces there creates a frictional force that is opposite to the applied force. Okay, so that resistive force is known as frictional force. If it doesn't move, then also there creates frictional force that is known as static friction. So again I am telling you the definition of frictional force. That means if a body moves or tends to move, that means একটা বস্তু যদি একটা বস্তুর উপর দিয়ে চলে বা চলতে চেষ্টা করে, তখন তাদের কন্টাক্ট সারফেসে কি হয়, একটা বাধা বা একটা রেজিস্টিভ ফোর্স ক্রিয়েট করে. That resistive force is called frictional force. Do you understand, everybody? Now, frictional force is how many types? It is of 4 kinds. Static friction, sliding, rolling, and fluid friction. Static friction. I have already told you, static friction means the friction when two bodies are not in motion relative to each other is called static friction. Look, in my hand there is a remote and the marker is put on the remote. object are not in motion relative to each other. So that friction is known as static friction. So look, here on the table I put a large box, a massive box. I put it on the table or on the floor, and I have applied force on it, but it doesn't move at all. Then the friction which is created between the contact surface of two objects is known as static friction. Is it clear? Sliding friction. Sliding friction means if any box is pulled by applying a force on the floor, and as a result the box moves in the floor, then the type of friction is called sliding friction. When we slide in a slippery road, that is also sliding friction. This type of many example you can get in your textbook also. Rolling friction. Rolling friction is what? Rolling friction means when I roll a ball or a marble or a wheel of a cart on the floor, then the wheel will move by rolling. That type of friction is called rolling friction. Fluid friction. The friction which is created in the fluid, that means fluid, it may be air, gaseous substance, then water, that is the friction which is created in those substances is known as fluid friction. When a person descended by using a parachute, then the friction that is having with the air, with the surface of the body of that person will be fluid friction. Again, when we swim in the swimming pond, that time with water our body has some friction, that is also fluid friction. Do you understand? Now I will explain you coefficient of friction. Coefficient of friction. Of friction. It is denoted by mu. Look, I put a box on the floor. The box is at rest on the floor. Suppose I have applied 10 Newton force on the box is not in motion. Then I applied 15 Newton force, yet the box is not in motion. If I applied 20 Newton force, the box is not in motion. If I applied 25 Newton force, then the box starts to move. So that minimum amount of force by which an object starts to move, that is known as boundary value of force. Okay, that is denoted by Fs. The weight of the box is what? W, which is acted downward, and the reaction force is, you know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So reaction force is upward. The coefficient of friction, that means mu is the ratio of reaction force with the boundary value of force. You understand? think about force, you learned many things, isn't it? You know, force is a necessary evil. Force is called as a necessary evil. Why? Though it has some disadvantages, it is very much helpful for us, because due to friction we can walk on the floor. A car can be stopped. A marble can be stopped. We can stand on the floor. So friction has various helpful activities, and also it is disadvantageous, because due to friction the longevity of any machinery is decreased and the fuel use will be increased. So it is necessary in one sense, and also it is disadvantageous in another sense. That's why it is called as necessary evil. So this type of question sometimes come into the SSC examination. Why is friction called as necessary evil? You must make the note. Now I will show you a math depending on friction. A car of weight Newton is pulled with 600 Newton force on a frictionful road, and the frictional force is 200 Newton. A number. Calculate the acceleration of the car Please everyone try to write it down in your copy, and you will try to solve it before me. And B number question is what? B number question, if the frictional force is made half then what can I raise?
One, two, three.
Actually this is D number, and calculate the acceleration of the car, that is C number, but I have written here A and B. I think you are habituated with this type of question with me, because several times I served you that type of question. Okay, so we can do this math. Again I am telling you the question. A car of weight of the car is what? 2200 Newton, and the force applied on the car is 600 Newton. The frictional force is what? 200 Newton. What? I will find out. Acceleration of the car equal to what? Okay? W equal to what? Mg. Isn't it? But we don't know what is the mass of the Third. Look. This is the solution of A number. So the mass will be what? W equal to mg. So m equal to what? W by g. I'm just calculating it and directly write down it on the board. Equal to 224.48 kg. Okay. Now, summation of F equal to MA. Summation of F equal to MA. Where summation of F I have written because there is two types of force are applied. One force is applied to pull the car and another force is frictional force. And you know frictional force is always opposite to the applied force. So you can write 600 minus 200 equal to mass equal to kato 224.48 into A. From here, A equal to what? Can you calculate? Who can calculate before me? I want to see. Is equal to 1.78 meter per second square. Do you understand the math? I think if you understand A number math, then you can very easily do the B number math, because in B number I have told you what? If the frictional force is made half, then what would be the change of acceleration of the car? That means in B number you just make half of this frictional force. It will be what? 100 Newton. And in the same way you can do the math. That is your homework. Everybody will do the math at your home and show it on Messenger. Thank you everybody. Okay everybody. So Corona crisis is going to be worse day by day, and Bangladesh is at great threat of this. That's why you should try to stay at home and stay safe. Goodbye everybody.